Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Can you hear us from our side?
Yes.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Yes, we can. Thank you. Welcome to hearing 25 in respect of Kimihia Lakes. We've done a number of these hearings by Zoom before as a panel, so we're pretty au fait with making them work effectively and efficiently. In terms of the nature of today, there's a very high degree of commonality between Mr. Divenboden's Section 42A report and the witnesses for Kimihia Lakes. We're very interested in getting to the pointy end of matters that are in disagreement and how we might resolve those, rather than sort of slavishly reading through vast amounts of information. In that regard, it's been our normal practice for technical witnesses to provide written summary statements in advance of the hearing. I don't believe that we've had those in this case from the Kimihia Lakes team, but bearing that in mind, we're not wanting the witnesses to start reading vast chunks of evidence. The reason for that is that we've pre-read everything that you are going to tell us about today if it's been written down. So we're really looking for your assistance to being very efficient and to cut to the chase on what it is that's outstanding and more importantly, what you want us to do about it. I'll go around the room in a minute and get everybody to introduce themselves briefly, beginning with the panel. But as you can see by the numbers of people on the screen, it's a pretty small gathering, which lends itself to being particularly focused. So we're going to look for everybody's assistance with that. So without further ado, we should just introduce the panel first and then the other people in the room. My name's Phil Mitchell. I'm an Independent Hearings Commissioner and I'm chairing today's hearing.
Hello, I'm Diane Swarton. I'm an Independent Commissioner and a former Waikato District Councillor.
Morena, my name is Linda Tiaho and I'm an Independent Commissioner.
Morena koutou, Will Marg, Independent Commissioner.
Morena, Paul Cooney, Independent Commissioner, Deputy Chair, Lawyer.
Morning, all. Fletcher here, District Plan Administrator and Hearings Coordinator. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Bell.
Morning, I'm Sandra Kelly. I'm the Senior Project Coordinator for the District Plan.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Morena, everybody. Jane McCartney here, just calling in from the Tuako office. I have assisted somewhat with the background and familiar with the site visit. Just here today as an observer. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. McCartney.
Kia ora tātou, Rob van Divenboden, Reporting Officer.
Thank you very much.
Morena koutou, I'm Carolyn Ratt, Assistant Counsel.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Adam Jelly, a planner.
Thanks, Mr. Jelly. Which I think brings us to the Kimihia Lakes team, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Andrew Cumberpatch here from Waifumiskal on behalf of the applicants, Allen Fabrics. I'll just go around the room so that everyone here in our Hamilton office who's dialing in and let you know who's here.
Good morning. I'm Charlotte McDonald, a planner at Waifumiskal.
Morning.
Barry Allen, the owner of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Yes.
I'm Jennifer Allen, the other co-owner of the property.
Thanks, Ms. Allen.
I'm Charlie Young and I'm the project manager for the Kimihia Lakes project.
Thank you.
Got Brian Sanson, landscape architect from Waifumiskal. Just here from a technical perspective.
Good morning, Daniel Height from LISA, civil engineer.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Judith Makinson from CKL, dealing with traffic and transportation matters on behalf of the applicant.
Very good, thank you. Have we got anybody else in the room that's not introduced themselves? There's Ms. Campbell. Not sure who that is.
Kia ora. I'm a colleague of Rob van Dovenboden. I'm just observing today.
All right, thank you, Ms. Campbell. The one thing that we would ask people to do, it probably isn't a huge issue today, and I see the folk at the Boffin office have turned their sound off. That's probably going to be sufficient. Normally we get people to turn their videos off when they're not speaking, but I think in this case, given that there's not large numbers of people here, we'll let that, see how that goes. But if we do run into any issues which we're not anticipating, then we might just get folk to turn their video off when they're not speaking. All right, so I think we'll commence, please, with you, Mr. Dovenboden. Van Dovenboden, sorry.
Right. Yes, good morning all. Particular welcome to the Submitter AFL team. Nice to meet you. I submitted an opening statement, which, for the sake of brevity, I'll just roar through. Really, there's no change to the Section 42A recommendation after exchange of rebuttal and further consultation between the submitter and any other submitters, and our update on that. The overview of the lake zone. I understand that has the panel not visited the site at this time? It might help if I'm asked.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have visited the site.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you want to stick up, excuse me, do you want to stick up a map of the particular area we're talking to? Mr. Chair, that'll probably be helpful.
There's a few in the opening statement. Is the one that
Mr. Chair, would you like us to share an image of an aerial or of the master plan or the zoning plan?
I think probably the master plan or the zoning plan, one or other of those is probably the most appropriate.
Will do.
I think.
So can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. That's good.
Oh, well, if I should continue.
Yes, please.
Yep. Very briefly, the proposed zoning remains as the recommendation to be accepted for the reasons in the 42A report, chiefly whether it meets the merits of a special zone. There's no change to any of the recommendations following rebuttal, and really that was it. I had included in my opening statement a sequence of planning snippets over time to give the evolution of pre-development through to the current plan, the notified plan, and now the submission before you, but they're really captured by the visual in front of you. And that's all, Mr. Chair, unless you have further questions.
Thank you. Let's see if there are any questions. There may well not be. Let's start with you, Mr. Marg.
Just one observation you referred to in point 93. Sorry, I think it was 96, consultation with local iwi, and then in 101 you're suggesting that there's going to be a further update to us around discussions with Waikato Tainui. Are you able to confirm that that has occurred?
My understanding is that the submitter team will update us on that today.
Kapai, thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Mr. Marg. Mr. Fulton?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Tiaho?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mr. Cooney?
Oh, thank you very much. That's the briefest opening statement we've had so far, so well done.
Indeed.
No, and I don't have any questions either. It may be that there's something that arises when we hear from the proponents team, and if there's anything that we need clarification of at that point, we'll explore that then. So we'll pass it over to you, Mr. Cumberpatch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What we propose to do is Charlie, as project manager, will give, I suppose, for the audience a bit of an overview a refresh as to, I suppose, the overarching vision for the site, and I suppose the reasons for the rezoning sought. After that, I will provide a very brief summary statement, which just provides everyone an update on recent communications between ourselves and Waka Kotahi as a submitter in relation to a residual matter around minimum floor levels for the site. And I have prepared a brief statement, and I can provide that to everyone at the conclusion of the hearing. But beyond that, we'll be just happy to take any questions from yourself, Mr. Chair, and the panel after the conclusion of that statement.
All right, that's fine. Thank you very much.
So I'll hand over to Mr. Young now to talk about the project.
Yeah, good morning, and we'll keep it brief, which is hard for me.
We'll help you in that regard if you think you're straying. Don't worry. Maybe we could get rid of that concept plan just for now, and put it back if we need it when you're talking to it. That'd be good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, just briefly, I guess from more of a community aspect and not the more technical side, which the rest of the group here can fill in, but just a couple of brief words from the community side, that this project has actually captured a lot of attention and backing in the community of Huntley, because when the proposed district plan first came out, it felt like there wasn't a lot in it for the community, to be honest. And I think that the community was really searching for a way forward, because the community, as everybody knows, has been put through some dire times with the closing of some of the industries there, and the new expressway being diverted around the community. So there's been a lot of things that we all know. I don't have to go deep into that, but there's a point in time where communities have to pull themselves up, and where does that begin? And we believe that this project is part of that new beginning for the community and the way forward, and that our project is really about hope, and it's about opportunity, and it's not about money, and it's about giving a chance for the community to reignite their pride of place, and things and communities start that way, from pride of place. And so you can't get a better metaphor than an old coal mine and its place where it's been abandoned, neglected, and left in a horrendous state. And you can then draw a parallel to the community, where some feel that's been the case there too, where it's been left and abandoned and people have not given hope. So we like to say that this project and our lake is a water body that lifts all boats. And that being, there's Waka around education, environment, opportunities, training. And so as our lake rises, so will the opportunities be given to the community. And so with that we formed a charitable trust called the Kimihia Lakes Community Charitable Trust to oversee the project. And so what the charitable trust's purposes are mainly focused around education and opportunity and the environment for specifically youth in the community, because that's where we're going to be reaching out to in the community to draw people in to help work on the project. So from the rehab work, environmental work, from growing plants to eventually working in the facility as instructors and educators, that's where our emphasis is going to go. But and this process is awesome, is that this is one of the keys to unlock this potential. And so we just again are hopeful that you guys can see the same as an opportunity, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for us. So we have great technical skill people around us. We've onboarded just about everyone in the community. It's gone through and reached the highest levels in the blueprinting process that the council had conducted, and also through the growth strategy, where it was identified as either the first or second thing that the community thought was most important in Huntly, and that's where you can see the community support and through for the project. So that's all I got to say, is that it's a great opportunity, and we're very hopeful and optimistic. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Young. I think rather than ask any questions, let's carry on through the rest of the presentation, and then we'll see if there's any questions at the end of that, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I will do now is talk to, I suppose, a brief summary statement which I have prepared. In essence, I just want to give an update on what has occurred since my previous statement of rebuttal evidence was lodged. Since that time, I've reviewed the rebuttal evidence provided by Mr. Van Duijvenbode. I agree with his conclusions and don't really have any further comments to make beyond that. The key one is to provide an update on the communications we've had with Waka Kotahi. So I'll just talk to that now, because I appreciate this hasn't been circulated to the audience at this stage. In response to the concern raised by Mr. Mike Wood of Waka Kotahi in his evidence from 10 March around the downstream effects arising from the potential blockage or failure of the culverts that adjoin the site, the Kimihia Lakes project team has considered further the inclusion of a rule for the Kimihia Lake zone which would set a minimum floor level. To provide some context on this matter, the invert level of the existing culvert under the Waikato Expressway, which flows into Lake Kimihia to the east, will effectively set the future lake level at around RL8. During a blockage or failure, the 100-year flood level within the site of RL 9.35 metres has been established based on Waka Kotahi's design report for this culvert. Within the updated provisions for the Kimihia Lake zone, which I will share on the screen shortly, Rule KLZR1E is now proposed, which would require all buildings or structures for occupation by people to be set at a floor level above RL 935 metres, with freeboard requirements depending on whether the building is to accommodate sensitive land uses as defined in the proposed district plan or not. Existing Rule KLZR1D4 already proposes a minimum 25 metre setback from the margin of the lake, which will provide additional controls against the potential for flooding. This is also illustrated on a map, which I'll include with my statement. The proposed rule has been circulated to Mr. Wood and also Mr. Warren Bird of WSP, who is Waka Kotahi's stormwater advisor, for their review. In an email I received on Tuesday, Mr. Wood confirmed Waka Kotahi are supportive of this proposed approach, and I have also included in that a copy of the email trail. So in essence, that's really the, I suppose, the summary of the further information that we are providing. I'll actually will share maybe my screen where that statement's shown.
You might just want to blow that up.
Yes, sorry, will do.
Please, a little bit hard to read.
So in essence, this is the inclusion of this new minimum floor level rule, which will sit within KLZ R1 buildings and structures for the wider zone. So as you see there, freeboard level of 500 mils above that 100-year event for sensitive land uses. I guess in what would be applicable in this instance would be proposed visitor accommodation for the site. As we've said before, we're not proposing specifically any new residential development, but sensitive land uses is a defined term in the proposed district plan, so we thought that would be the most appropriate way to reflect that. For buildings that aren't sensitive land uses, a reduced level of 300 mils is proposed, and it's intended that at the time of building consent, information would be provided to demonstrate how that is being met.
Can you just explain to me, I just don't quite understand the drafting of that. You've said, if you look at E Roman 1A, the floor level's got to be 500 metres above 9.35 metres. I get that. What's the relevance of the, why mention the 1% AEP flood event? Because the flood level is the flood level, isn't it? Or are you saying it's 9.35 or the 1 in 100 year flood level, whichever's the greater or something?
935 is the flood level in there.
So what's the purpose of all those extra words? The rule just says you've got to be 500. You've got to be at an RL of 9.85 meters, doesn't it? Whether it's the 1 in 100 year flood or the million year flood, it's just, isn't it just an explanation?
Valid point. Yeah, we could reduce the wording.
That could be.
I just wanted to be clear. I mean, and don't worry about it. I just wanted to be clear that there's nothing magical about the 1% AEP reference. It's simply saying that 9.35 meters is that flood level. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That's pretty clear. Are you? Feel free to carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to...
No, that's fine. And there really isn't too much else in the way to share other than, I suppose, what we had done. Sorry, excuse me, as I scroll through this. This was just expressed on this map, which showed purple being the, I suppose, lake extent, albeit with some residual areas in that 935. And the blue showed the setback from the lake edge. So it wasn't intended there would be any buildings any closer to the lake edge from there. So that's just some supporting information. And as I said, I can email this on to Fletcher to distribute to everyone at the conclusion of the hearing. So on that basis, we are happy to take any questions from yourself, Mr. Chair, or the panel in relation to any other matters relating to the rezoning. I could stop sharing this for now, if that's all right.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Mr. Mark?
Yeah, just going back to the question I asked earlier, Mr. Kamapatch, are you able to give an update in relationship to the consultation with Waikato Tainui?
Mr. Young will and Mr. Allen will also assist. So they'll, as we set out in the evidence and section 32, there's been consultation with Waikato Tainui representatives previously in terms of
Yeah, so I mean, much deeper than that is that when we have established our trust that I spoke of earlier, one of the seats is our local Hapu representative, which is Tukarotu Mahuta, and he sits on our trust board. And so we're fully committed to really this project, as this project rolls on, to be in a real true partnership sense with local Hapu and iwi, and we can't do it without them. And it's the right thing to do, and we're getting a lot of great feedback, and so we're reaching out to local Hapu currently. In an example, we're about to begin our native plant nursery, and the providers that we're working with are reaching deeply into the community and youth from local Hapu, who are the first ones through the gate that are training. So we're going to be doing what we say, and like I said, there'll be a complete ongoing commitment and connection through that community, through our charitable trust.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
If I can speak to my involvement with the iwi, as soon as we purchased the property, I heard the local iwi were upset that the Tainui tribe didn't buy the mine, and they had the opportunity to match my price but turned it down. So I immediately went to Wahi Whanui and met with Poreawa, a friend, and said our vision was to share it with the community, and I'd like them to be involved. And the alongside that, my neighbour has Rawari, who is the environmental officer for Tainui. And going further back, his wife I was involved with on the Lake Hakanoa Walkway project that we put the walkway around the lake and developed that. And we're developing a married garden there. And and further to that, my great-grandchildren are now registered Maori. We've got, I went to my friend George Pucky, who was a cousin of the King, and asked him when we were setting up the trust, would he act as a trustee? And he said no, because he's at the Miranda base now. He suggested Tukarautu Mahuta, the brother of Nanaya Mahuta. And so two agreed to join our trust. And then further to that, we've got links with, we've just established links with Tawa and Nikau with their Waikari Lake project, and we're going to work together with them on our two projects, sourcing the wetland work and planting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Yeah.
Ms. Tiaho?
Thank you for that response. I think what Mr. Mugg asked actually was, what was your consultation with the iwi organisation? So I know all of the individuals and hapu groups that you mentioned there, but it's a different thing to engage with and make sure that you're talking to the iwi organisation. So have you done that?
Yes, through in the beginning with Tainui Environmental and through Taroi's work. And so we've officially actually even had a joint funding application that was supported by Tainui Environmental for a Waikato River Authority application. So we've been partnering with them and we continue and we'll continue to do so through the process. So that's been our organizational liaison person that we've been dealing with.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ms. Tiaho. Mr. Fulton?
Just one general question. I was on site recently with a car rally on your property. I just was interested to know what the lake level percentage fill is at the moment. I know it's not critical to this part of the hearing, but I was just interested to know, to see what percentage is fill.
It's
water level?
9.35 meters. You talking about?
No, the water level that's in the lake at the moment.
Depth at the moment. It's approaching 24 meters depth at the moment, on the way to 59 meters full.
Okay, nearly half full. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Fulton. Mr. Cooney?
No, I haven't got any questions. All I can say is we've yet to make a decision on this, but well done to the Allens and the community for promoting this concept.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cooney. I don't have any questions either, but certainly endorse those comments. The thing that I'd also say is that I wouldn't like Mr. and Mrs. Allen to feel that their sort of day in the sun, as it were, today has been short-circuited by a very efficient and short-circuited hearing. We have heard from about this proposal in one of our earlier hearings, so we were pretty well informed about things beforehand. We have had a good look around the area, and we have read all the information that's been provided to us, and that's why we didn't see a lot of merit in just rolling all that out again, just for the simple sake of doing so. But I do want to reassure you that we're fully appraised of the proposal and what it involves. So I just want to make that point clear. Mr. Van Dyvenboden, is there anything that you want to mention, having heard from Mr. Cumberpatch and others this morning? Is he gone?
He's on mute, I think.
He's on mute.
Sorry about that. Right, got that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. No points of clarification at all around the amendments to Rule R1E. The wording will achieve the intended outcomes, I think. I always did struggle with the scope of the original submissions, but all credit to the submitter and their teams for finding a solution regardless. No other matters from me.
All right, thank you very much for that. That's helpful. Well, I think on that basis, there's no point in prolonging things, as it were. Just to explain where we're at, we're issuing decisions on the plan as a whole, as one package, and that'll be later in the year. So notwithstanding that there's a high degree of, well, there's no outstanding matters, a decision on this particular part of the plan that you folk are interested in won't be forthcoming until that whole of plan process is completed. That's just for obvious reasons, is that we're not wanting to issue sort of piecemeal decisions all over the place. We're going to do it in one integrated package. So you'll have to be a little patient in that regard, I'm sorry. So unless there's anything else, thank you everybody for your participation today. Mr. Cumberpatch, we would like those comments in writing, please, that you referred to. And other than that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance. And if the panel wouldn't mind holding fire for a moment, please. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.